All right, good afternoon. Is there anybody online we could do for like an audio check? Or no?
I'm not that I saw. We'll double check. Nope.
All right, well, good afternoon. Welcome to Sarah Smith's Go Team meeting, where we'll follow the agenda as it's been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team, and only members of the Go Team can participate in our discussion. I'm pleased to call this meeting of Sarah Smith's Go Team to order at 3:23 p.m. on November the 30th. Our first order of business is to call roll. Ann, will you now take the roll, please?
Dwight Hudson,
Present.
Mona Hinton-Derrickson,
Present.
Ann Mittman, present, Mary Posada, Jennifer Chestnut,
Present.
Carla Lamar, is she coming? BJ Osby,
Present.
Ben Miller,
Present.
LaQuisha Smith,
Present.
and Andrea Omario.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Ann, is there a quorum present?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Please add in the discussion items, care team funds.
Care team funds, okay? All right, so may I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of care team funds to the discussion items?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Jennifer. Second?
I second.
Thank you, BJ. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Okay, I think that was approved unanimously. We'll now review and approve the minutes from our last meeting. The minutes provided to you. Are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our previous meeting?
I move to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Okay, BJ, thank you. Second?
Second.
LaQuisha, thank you. So with that, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes from October 19th, please say aye. Aye. Okay, that was everybody, so those are approved. Okay. So, look at your papers. All right, so Mr. Hudson, should we go ahead and move on then to our discussion items? I think here there were a couple of if needed action items around strategic plan update and priorities, but I believe we did those at our prior meeting.
We did. So let me tell you the honest truth. This meeting is probably going to go very quickly.
Yeah.
The reason why is we're still in the middle of map testing, and this was supposed to be when we give the updates on map testing. As of last night, I wasn't able to get anything. Today, I was able to pull math. So math scores are coming in, and we can look at that as far as like a brief overview, and then just to start to think. And then I do want to have a discussion with you about some of my thoughts regarding some money that we have for CARES budget that I have to spend, and see if you all have any input or anything that you can think of that will help where we can use those funds, because I have to spend them this year or we lose them. Okay. So that's the discussion piece. So if you'd like, would you like me to go ahead and start?
Yes, please.
All right. So this is the overview, the continuous improvement plan, 45-day check-in, fall to winter map discussion, review of strategic plan and priorities progress, strategic plan updates, preparing for the budget development, and then rank the strategic priorities. Much of this we've done already, but this is what we have for the third. So as part of the continuous improvement process, we're all doing the quarterly check-ins. I did that check-in. They hired someone that specifically does it for the district. to see how we're doing. Were you able to be, I think you all were gone that day, right?
Mhm.
So I actually did that one with just me and a couple of other staff members, along with the district personnel that's responsible for looking at that. And those are also the same people that when we have learning walks, the person that's over the quarterly check-in, he comes and he's part of the learning walk to see how we're implementing our plan and everything else, how everything else is going in the school. And we did that earlier this year at the IC. So based on our year-long SIP plan, what are the actions that the school has already completed? What data supports the completion of an action item, action step and success criteria, both implementation and student achievement? So as you look at this, pretty much everything is in progress because throughout the year, we're working on the same thing throughout the year. So when we look at our literacy goals, it says K-3 teachers will implement foundations with fidelity. So of course, we're looking at that throughout the year. We're observing classes, the coaches are going in, leaving positive notes and giving feedback. Their job is to be supportive. My job is to be, well, it's also to be supportive, but then there comes a time when I have to evaluate. So initially they go in and they're just supporting. If I go in and I see a need, when I go to support or evaluate, I say, hey, check this teacher out, look at this, this is the support that he needs. So this is ongoing. Do you want to talk about any training that they have other than the OG training that some teachers are doing and the district training and then the people that we brought in to help support this? Because we had some people come in and do the books and what else?
What is OG training?
Sorry, Orton Gillingham.
Okay, thank you.
And anytime I do that, please stop me. So Orton Gillingham is an approach where they take, it works with any curriculum, but they take it's multi-sensory and it goes into the phonics. So we were looking to see more of that as more teachers get it. So for example, as a kindergartner is doing letter shapes, they will, or letter sounds, they will also, sometimes they'll put shaving cream on the desk. They'll do it on a bumpy paper. They'll do it on the desk. They skywrite. These are strategies that they show them. So as they do cat, they'll go C-A-T, cat, or they may do it in the shaving cream, then kind of clean it off. So just all of those multi-sensory and additional pieces of information and input helps them to remember better. The physical activity, the multi-sensory. Anything you'd like to add?
I think that covers it.
Is to be IB, that's not required of the teachers to be trained?
They're trained on foundations. Everyone is trained on foundations.
Yeah.
OG goes a step beyond, and people that they don't really call it certified, but they have a certain number of hours in OG. Those are the people that you hear tutoring kids are making a lot of money because they have a whole bunch of additional strategies, especially for learners that struggle with reading.
OG is very much used in the dyslexia world,
Mhm.
in places like Skank and Institute School. For them it is required. And that is for a lot of us, it was a person from, I think, Skank that came and trained us a few years ago. And, yeah, it's just a bare bones way to teach reading from the absolute basic shape, sound, phonics, phonemes of so many of us kind of learn to read naturally, right? Just being exposed, and a lot of kids don't. It's just a way to teach any kid how to read.
And they do provide, I took it a while ago. They do provide a lot of rules that you may not even remember. Like rules that we may not even know. It helps give kids like an actual format for like which words and with when you're using C and K, which words will begin with C and Y versus which words will begin with K and Y. And then they have a little cute little cat. I think
Cat
with
kite.
the
Cat
cat and kite. And then, you know, the cat with the A in the middle. It gives you a hint and like a visual. So they use those strategies within the classes. Some of our teachers are getting trained in it right now. Ms. Herron is doing the class. And so it works with any student. So that's part of foundations. That's part of the training. Foundations is what we're doing, but that's something additional that aligns with foundations and phonics training. Oh,
Sorry.
yes.
I was just gonna ask, like, how many teachers at the school are certified or trained in OG?
I don't know offhand. We're
I don't know.
we're
I just
doing
did
a
a
survey
survey
right
yesterday.
now.
Yeah, because I was thinking it would be nice if there was like at least one at each, you know, especially in like the
So we are doing a
Literacy,
survey
say
because
that
we have to
there's-
turn in a literacy project because the way that the state is moving right now, all teachers will be using the science of reading. So they're starting to get an idea of where teachers are and what the training needs are. And I had to fill that out. Well,
Okay.
Jennifer did it for us. So as that's completed, I can give you a better answer
Yeah,
to see, because it's, what's the basic, 50 or 25?
30.
30 is the basic,
Mhm.
and then 75,
Mhm.
and then you keep going up from
Yeah.
there.
okay, because I know like just other ways, like on tours committee, like parents are coming in and asking. you know,
About
like,
OG.
About OG and
Okay.
about like how we're teaching literacy, so that's great. that you're
Well,
continuing
and our
to do that.
phonics program, Foundations,
The
is
Foundations.
based a lot. Foundations goes along with the science of reading
Yeah.
beautifully, and incorporates a lot of the Orton Gillingham practices without it saying it's Orton
Yeah,
Gillingham.
because I saw the papers that come home where you
Mhm.
like, practice at home, and it has a lot to do with the sensory and the movement. and stuff.
And so then the next one is implement PLCs with fidelity, focusing on reading for meaning. So that's one of the things that we just do every time. The PLCs, professional learning communities, that's basically when the teachers meet and plan. So we're focusing on reading for meaning. Also with that, utilize content-based nonfiction text to build background knowledge and address reading opportunities. And that came out of a study that we did this summer with, how many teachers participated?
About 13, 14.
About 13 or 14 of us, including the admin and the coaches. We read this book, The Knowledge Gap, and it really showed that some of the struggles that students are having with reading has less to do with reading and more to do with their background knowledge. And one of the pieces that struck me was they gave a reading test to students with a group that was considered high and a group that was struggling. And they gave some completely unfamiliar some kind of unfamiliar thing to the students, and there was a wide gap in the scores. But once they gave them something, both groups that were familiar with it, then both of the scores were about the same. So building background knowledge is critical to helping with the reading skills. And so when we do that for nonfiction text, that not only supports us in reading, but it helps us with social studies and science across the board. So that's why we have an emphasis on that. Fifth grade really pushed that last year and worked on that and implemented it in the classroom. And we saw that they improved more than the other classes. So when we looked at MAP, they actually scored above that at the end of the year, where everyone else fell right about where MAP was. And then explicit vocabulary instructions for ELs and students with low literacy scores. So just looking at supporting students with explicit vocabulary instruction and really just emphasizing what words means and using inferencing and other skills to develop their knowledge and have, vocabulary attack skills. I should let you do this one. Did I leave anything out?
You did great.
Oh, you would tell me. Would you tell me? Would you tell me? Ongoing. So all of those are ongoing. Provide professional learning and guidance in PLCs regarding contextual problem solving, conceptual understanding, and productive struggle for numeracy and math. And that's ongoing. So as we've been talking about all year, having students get the concepts. Why are they doing what they're doing? And it's a struggle. It's a struggle for the teachers as well. But we will talk about later what the fruit of that is. But you're seeing the students really start to grapple with it. And then what I love that I've been seeing too is even the teachers that are grappling with it, they're meeting together and putting stuff together and figuring it out how to teach the students before they go into the classroom and actually teach. And so that understanding helps the teachers, which in turn helps the students. Monitor the implementation of contextual problem solving, conceptual understanding, and productive struggle. So we're always in the classrooms looking, giving feedback, same thing as with literacy. When we see it happening, we give kudos. When we don't, we say, hey, these are some ways that you can implement this. Look at this strategy, look at that strategy. I'll give you a teacher, for example, went to Ms. Barnett, who's more of the lead on that, and just said, hey, I want to see I want you to look at what I'm doing and see how we're doing. And then we brought in the new teacher project. They spent a day with us where they walked and went through the school and kind of assess different teachers to see what they did. Same thing happened when we did our learning walk, and they gave us feedback, and they, they said, this is what we want to see the students doing. This is what we want to see the teachers doing. And they rated us on that, and they told us what we need to work on and what needs, what looks good. And so one of the pieces across the board that looked good, that I can tell you off the top of my head, was engagement. Like, our students are fully engaged in the lesson. And then, one of the things that they told us that really needs to improve is like student ownership of the work. So even though we're pushing that conceptual understanding and the students starting to grapple with the problems and do things of that nature and trying to build a conceptual understanding, we still have that old way of teaching where we want to be in front. So we're trying to help pull back from that. And so that is some of the feedback that we give as we go in the classroom. Also, you'll hear us talking about learning targets and success criteria, which is, as we're teaching the students, we want them to know this is what we intend to teach or intend for you to learn today, the learning targets. And the success criteria is, how are you going to demonstrate what you've learned? So they need to do that in the class, explain it to the students and refer to it so that we make sure that we're on track with what they're supposed to learn. And that way students will take more of a responsibility for what they're learning and just do better is the goal. So implement PLCs with fidelity, focusing on lesson internalization. That's when we talk about practicing and going over the problems before they go in front of the students. That happens in PLCs, and it happens on their own. So, like, for example, I'm just strolling down the hallway one day and I see two teachers and they're like, wait, how do you do this? How do you explain this? And so they're working together, the teachers helping the other teacher. And without going into who it was, I observed the teacher that was struggling with it today, and the lesson was beautiful. So I even went next door and told the teacher that was supporting that teacher, like, thank you, because I saw the difference. And that's part of us working together and having that collegiality and learning to grow as teachers. And I say me too, as I say we, because I'm going in and some of this is new for me as well. So it's like, let's make sure we're getting as much as we can and learning and supporting. Utilize manipulatives to support Black students in moving from concrete to representation to abstract. And this is really for all. Black was when we looked at the data, but it's for any of our students that are struggling, second language learners, our white students that are struggling. I had to do one separate section that was for any groups that we looked at that had lower data. So that's why that's there. But in reality, it's for any of our students that are struggling. And really, we're doing it across the board because this supports all students. Best strategies supports all students. So when we look at the manipulatives, we're looking at taking an object, moving it to a drawing that is a representation of it, and then moving from there to what's in our minds. What's 2 + 3? So kids are starting off as something as simple as 2 + 3 with 2 teddy bears plus 3 teddy bears, and they know that's 5. Then they move to the drawings of that. Then they move to 2 + 3 in their mind, and that's what we look at. Even with multiplication, they're doing that with arrays and cubes. So they're setting it up with like hundreds, 100 squares, tens, ones, and they're able to actually set up multiplication problems using the area model. So that would be an example of a manipulative. Then they move to drawing that on paper. Then they move to just 24 times 23. And it's a beautiful thing to see when the kids get it, because now it's not like we learn where we, carry the one, do this. They understand what it looks like and then think about the practical applications of it. Say, for example, we say, hey, you have a library and you want to design it. Here's your amount of space. What do you put in that space? And then they can actually understand that concept. Whole child and intervention. The whole child and intervention team will meet weekly to discuss student attendance and other needs. So we have a new AP, Mr. Champion. That was his world. So he is over that now. And we just had a meeting today where I was like, thank God. Like, probably shouldn't have said that, but the meeting, he was on top of everything. Like, this is how we need to do this. This is what we need to look at. Here are students that are struggling with attendance. These are the next steps. He laid it all out for the team. And so we're moving forward with that. We meet every week. He was the one at the district level that used to observe other teams in every school. So now he's observing and leading our team. Well, not leading, he's part of that team. The social worker leads the team, but he helps guide through that. So that's ongoing as well. Provide monthly incentives and promote good attendance throughout the school year. So we're working with the social worker on that. And then ensure that students with over 8 absences during the first semester have an attendance plan. So letters went out yesterday. So
Anyone forgot?
hopefully no one in here gets a letter, but letters went out yesterday. And then the social worker is working on the plans that we're gonna have to help those students improve. And remember, the goal is to keep students from having more than 18 absences because that impacts our CCRPI. And you would not believe how many students, how many students are already in danger of that. Yes.
How is the incentives going?
The incentives have not started as I like them to start yet.
Okay.
I mean, let's say the physical incentives. There have been incentives like, you know,
Like
Miss
the
14,
dance, yeah.
the label on the door, the
Mhm.
homeroom's being called. And they do like it. You start to hear them sharing at the end of the day when their homeroom is called, but they haven't started earning like the actual, like a dance or any prizes or toys yet, but we're gonna move to that as well. Okay, data discussion, this is the part we can really kind of skip. Well, no. This was, this actually should say last year's scores. So we reviewed that already, but this is, let me make sure. Yeah, this is what we have so far for this year. So overall, and we're not finished doing our map testing. And as you can see, we have 523 exams in the fall and we did 445. This is data that I pulled today because we're still in the process of testing. But what you will see is we had a slight increase in this part here, right? So meets and exceeds. We had a slight decrease here, so we're tracking better. Now, I will tell you that last year at this time, when we looked at this data, a lot of schools, and including ours, they went backwards a little bit. So they took a slight dip. So the fact that we're moving forward a little bit is great. So it's not a major, but it is major in that last year we took a slight dip and then we increased at the end. So now we increased in the middle and hopefully we keep that same energy going all the way to the end and we reach our target for the year. And this is just looking at math so far. Also, when you look at growth, and I didn't put that up here, when you look at growth, our growth was lower last year than what it is now. And when we get the final results, we'll be able to say, okay, last year, I think it was very low growth and we're still moving towards the direction, but we're more in the middle point now, which is remarkable. So on the 2nd, we're coming back together and we're going to celebrate all of that as much as we can when we come together and just keep the energy going. Because some of the teachers are like, and you can say the truth, like this math, oh my gosh, is this really working? And
Yeah, it's challenging.
but we're seeing a slight uptick, forcing those students to like be responsible and take hold of it. So we just want to continue to see that grow. That's all. So when I pulled this, and I just wanted to say why we didn't really have it last night. When I put this up, it was at 25.9%. So we need more information, but that's what we have for now. All right, so what do you notice? What are your wonderings? What additional questions do you have? We can talk about just what we have in math so far, or we can skip over this until the next meeting when we have more data. Skip, keep it moving.
Is everybody taking math?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
most,
feel like to not have the whole pictures.
yeah, today, the primary campus, most of them took math. And today, the intermediate campus, most of them took reading. So we're,
So the people that took math today is not reflected in there.
right.
But it wasn't that many more because it was like, what was the difference? 520 versus 400 and something? So
It's wild. It's like it almost has what, anyone that took it this morning, it was in there when you pulled, I don't know when you pulled it, but it almost feels like it.
well, anyone that took it yesterday or before is in there. Anybody that took it
If you
today.
pulled it last night, though, it wouldn't have people who tested yesterday.
I pulled that today.
Okay.
Yeah, when Ashley called me, our math person's like, have you seen the data? And I said, well, I looked last night. And so when I looked, I said, oh, let me add this to the presentation.
Yes, we'll cover that at our next meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so all of that ties back. We already did the strategic plan. We did our updates, and we voted on the changes last meeting. We also did our strategic plan priority ranking last time, so we're fine with that unless anyone has something that they'd like to change. I think we were fine. So our next meeting, we begin the budget discussion for 2024-25. And if you have any questions, we can add that in. It's incredible how the year goes. And we do want to have a very serious discussion because I'll tell you some of the major things that's going to impact us for next year. We have 3 teachers currently, or 3 staff members currently that are on CARES. That's the money that the government gave for, the whole pandemic and trying to catch students up. And they have to come off of CARES and go to the general budget next year. So they're not going to give us any additional money, but we have to figure out, and we use that to lower class sizes. We use that to have support in both media centers. Those are the 2 main things that we use it for as far as staffing goes. So, I mean, with attrition, if someone leaves, we can figure all of that out. But then we need to look at what does that do to our class sizes. And we don't want it to impact the class sizes because I think we're right where we need to be, maybe slightly lower in 1 grade, where maybe we can afford to lose 1 teacher because I think 1 grade we have, 16, 15.
But it was kind of by design too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was by design. And then the other grades that we added them were out of necessity, I believe. Definitely 3rd grade was out of necessity. So we need to figure that out for next year. CARES team money. So because we're losing that money next year, we couldn't hire new staff on it for next year or even for this year. But we have over 100,000 that we need to spend. And what we were looking at, because we're looking at trying to challenge our students and have them in a 21st century mode. So we really looked into things that would update our media center with technology pieces. One of the things we're looking at is installing 2 boards on that wall there where the students can collaborate and work in teams and to create things. They can just come into the media center, plug in their computers wirelessly, link their computers wirelessly and work in teams to create things, get whiteboard tables where they're actually, high bar stools, but whiteboard tables and adaptive seating where they can work together. A nook over there, along with another rolling screen for presentations and things like that to happen. And then doing something similar, but with less space at the other media center, as well as some Lego walls to promote creativity, some planks to create, for more creativity in building and things of that nature. And then we'll see what else we can do here. Also, we're looking at using that band room. It was going to be a game room, but we can't do that with CARES funds because it has to impact education. But we're looking at using that as part of esports and doing some additional things in that room to promote the esports, but then also use it as time goes on, getting more materials and having sort of an innovation station. Those are just some thoughts. Also, we had thoughts of adding, depending on how our data looks, some more tutorial for the students as well, because we can use some money for tutorial this year. So those are just some of the things that we were thinking of, like if the data is struggling in a certain area, then having maybe some intensive weeks of tutoring and things of that nature to see what we can do for the students as well. Those are our thoughts. Do you have any thoughts of where you would like to see that go, which is related to helping to improve and impact the student learning, and maybe even some books also for the media center to improve the collection and perhaps books, like we have a need for Braille books and books in other languages now too.
Do the kids have access to ebooks or that's on their own?
They do. So there's a couple, they're through my backpack.
Yeah.
But also there's something called Class Pass.
Mhm.
And if you get on Class Pass, I'm on Class Pass, and the teachers have access to it too, and Fulton County residents do as well. It has, oh my gosh, so much good stuff. What is that one I always use? I keep telling you guys about it. There's Hoopla, Hoopla. So you get that from Fulton County Library or through Class Pass, and it has audio books, it has ebooks, and it's free. You check them out from the media center or through Class Pass or through my backpack as well.
Well, like the school has, what do you use, like Mayan,
Mhm.
and there's one that they can only use during the school day.
Epic.
Epic, because my daughter always wants to read a book after the school day, and it's like,
Mhm.
but yeah, so they have those too.
Yeah, if you go into what Fulton County Library has, either through Class Pass or through it as being a library card holder, you would not believe the amount of things they have. They even have, I don't use it, so I can't remember the name right now, but there are a couple of apps, like language learning apps that they can use as well. Right on from the library. Also, they have, it's not Linda, but it used to be Linda.
Living.
Huh?
No.
The app where you learn whatever you want to learn. So you can go in there and learn about spreadsheets or taking picture, photography, things of that nature. So a lot of that is available. We can look at that or I can share Class Pass too.
I have one thing that just kind of came up recently, and Miss Stewart is physically repairing like teachers' editions of books like F&P, and do we have money to, instead of like her having to physically rebuild these things, can we purchase new copies of things that aren't? And she would be the person to be the contact about that, but she came to me about that yesterday.
So I will get in touch because we have CARES funds that we're working to spend. We have the general budget that, we use, but then we also have foundation, and that's what they do is the curriculum portion. So I'm sure they'll be happy to help with anything curriculum based to support the teachers.
Is there any, just talking with like my daughter's teacher, like the science curriculums, like for especially the younger, like the K-2 ones? I know here there's like a science lab where they can go and do pretty involved science. I don't know if there could be like more of that in the younger grades.
So I don't know if it was all these meetings run together. I want to say with PTO, we discussed getting some kits to go in the auditorium in the closets that teachers could just check out.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like a full lab, but it would be things that they can use.
Okay.
And so if that's like an issue that keeps coming up, we can sit down and talk about.
Teachers have access to all the things here.
Okay.
And usually if we know that, if we know ahead of time that they're going to teach something,
Yeah.
then we can get it, or Ms. Barnett will go buy it or bring it over from here. So.
Okay.
And that's true. I just had a teacher email me today and say, hey, we're doing a science experiment. Can you get us these things? So I'll just approve the spending for it. And then from there, they'll do it. So we can get them what they need. So just tell if you're talking to the teacher or they have an access.
How often are students like coming to the library for completing projects or group work or like?
They come about once a week, but not necessarily for that. So they do, I see them and they do sometimes they come in for checking out books, but then they'll also do some makerspace type activities. And that's what we're looking to create, more makerspace activities, checkers and Chinese checkers and things of that nature as they're in here as well. And so we're looking to expand that and like do things that will help them be more creative as well. So anything we can do to up their creativity and design and engineering and working together in collaboration, which, all of those are 21st century skills. So that's what we're trying to get into the media center, stuff that will give them more access to do those type of things.
Did they get into coding?
Yeah, I was just thinking coding.
They just did coding, what was I? 2 days ago, Chrissy Stewart had them doing coding. They did our code in the media center. I didn't see it here. They do coding here as a club after school, but it's not a very big club. It's about, I want to say, no more than 15 kids. But they do have coding here once a week. A student from Spelman, I believe, comes and leads the activity, and they're learning, input, output. Some of it is boring for them at first, but she's explaining to them, this is part of the process. You have to understand this, so when you're coding, you understand what you're doing. Do we have any input on any of the thoughts about ways to spend the money for the CARES money, if there's anything that you see that's a need that we may want to consider?
You mentioned books, so is it just any books to add to the
So
library or?
just looking at the thought of next year, we will be completely Spanish, just having more of a Spanish collection. But then if we have students that speak other languages, try to have some of those. And that's part of IB, having books in the languages of the students that are in the school. So, if we have Hebrew, we have Spanish, we have Chinese, we can start to add different books into our collection to make it more multilingual, which it will support, of course, support their learning, but then also children seeing themselves in the culture of the school and things of that nature.
This list of ideas, did this come from did you meet with a group of teachers and come up with this? Is this kind of the general consensus of what teachers want?
So looking at what we could spend the money on.
Yeah.
That's what basically.
That's where you guys got it, yeah.
Well, also we will push some of this to leadership and talk to them about it to see what we want to do, and then anything else that we can come up with to improve. Because it's just about what can we do to continue to help the students, challenge the students throughout the school.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking you want to impact the most students possible. I just don't know how many come here and are able to just kind of have free range on a.
They come in here every class. How often does your class
Well, I
come?
mean, my classroom, I can say for my classroom,
Yeah.
if it was up to them, they would live here. So they come in the mornings when there's a spot in the mornings. And then as a class, they come once a week.
But if you're doing a project in class and a student is I would really like to do this on the board so I can present it. Can they come here and work on that on their own? Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Frederick is very supportive.
Okay, all right.
And I think she keeps the media center open every day except one, and that's the day that she has to do film the morning show. I think it's 4 days a week. The kids can come in the morning to check out books. All right.
Wherever you feel like, my 2 cents is wherever you feel like you can most support the teachers to be able to kind of, I'm just hearing you say next year we're going to have 3 roles, right, that we're going to have to manage. So if there's any way to spend the money on technology or resources or something that will be lasting that can somehow balance losing these teachers. I don't know what that is exactly, but maybe it is these boards and technology and that kind of thing, but.
Is AI encouraged at this level?
It's funny you ask that. AI is not encouraged yet, but the students I have one student that he was pressing to meet with me for a little bit, and I said, get your stuff together and come meet with me. And he sat down and had a whole presentation about AI and how we can use AI in the school and the benefits of it. And I told him he needs to participate in the technology fair, so he went into that. But we have to start using AI. We just don't know how yet, because it's really going to be the future of how it's actually the present of how people are starting to use things. So if we don't learn how to use it, we're going to be behind. So it's the whole ethical piece of it is the challenge. And even as we're designing our IB policies, that made it into our technology policy. Looking at that was one of the suggestions we made, is if we're talking about technology, how do we incorporate AI into that, and how do we use that ethically at this level?
Well, and I think teachers are just getting comfortable with AI in PLCs, we've tried to put little nuggets in about how it can make planning easier, how you can create things for students using AI. And so I think as teachers become more comfortable with using it on their own, then I think they're going to start to find ways to incorporate it for students. But I think we've got to get teachers comfortable with it first,
And I went to an IB conference where they talked about all kinds of AI tools that we can use. But one of the things she did, and I just loved it, and it's so simple, but it was so great. Some things are simple but great. she took you took the word list, the trick words and the word list, and then they were studying, I always mess it up, Thomas Jefferson. And they were studying Thomas Jefferson. So she took the word list for first grade, the trick words for first grade, and put it into AI and said, write 20 first grade sentences using these words. And it's been
About
out.
Thomas Jefferson.
And-
So then they're all facts about Thomas Jefferson. So it's got like the vocabulary in there from the content and then all the words from the phonics piece.
And that's considered, those would be decodable sentences, right?
Mhm.
Which
Yep.
is the science of reading.
Yep.
So now the things that they're learning in class, they're reading about it, it's nonfiction text, and it's benefiting them because those are the words that they're learning and practicing in class. So as they learn those things and use them, like she was saying, hopefully they'll pick up ways that they can allow students to use them. What
I'm
was
just
that?
thinking like
If
I'm
they're
sorry, go ahead.
interested, if there's some type of training
Yeah.
or, you know, that they,
We're
or
on
that
the
where you
same
were
page.
going, yeah, to, you know, if that's something.
Yeah, I
that
don't know of any, like I'm always just looking at trainings, like tons of them come across, but I haven't seen anything about it yet. I think using it as a teaching tool is relatively new. There was district training for leadership this summer and one of the sessions was on that. So we could probably get somebody to come and do something that, you know.
Yeah, if there were, would that be an area where CARES money would be able to be utilized, or is that
We could use
something
it
where?
for training, teacher training.
So,
That would be
um,
Because that's
something
what I
that
was
would
thinking
alleviate
earlier
The-
to impact
the issue of
everybody.
resistance.
And so this is any kind of training, maybe not AI, but any type of math literacy, any type of training, we can use the money for that. The OG training.
That creates, yeah.
And that also creates a shared experience with the staff here, so
Yes.
that they're all on the same page, they're all using the same language, they're all like seeing each other as you're talking like the PLCs, building that up.
I think that's great.
Goal is to work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
And that, I think that's our last slide. Let's see. Yep, so that gets us to the end, but we really, I think the next one will be grappling with a lot of different things and ideas and looking at how to move funds around as we start talking about the budget.
So there was also that training on Ellis that is posted about getting ready for the budget talks. If anyone's like, yeah, I don't know how to budget. So you can check that out if you want to.
If we don't have any further business.
No,
I
so I think
turn
we've reached the end of our agenda.
Okay.
Is
Turn it
there
back
any
over to you.
additional business? No, someone is shaking their head. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Simona. Second? Thank you, Jennifer. All in favor, please raise your hand. Everyone has raised their hand. The meeting is adjourned at 4:06 p.m. Thank you to the Go Team, to the champion Go Team.
Thank,
I
oh,
saw that picture. You looked good,
yeah.
man.
Thank you,
What'd you
sir.
get?
We,
Besides
the
the
team
flag.
from last year, won outstanding Go Team.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, but what did you get?
you get a
Like, what'd you
trophy?
get?
Oh, I should bring the trophy in.
Is it on display in the office?
Well,
Do you have a trophy room?
there's a trophy room for the kids. We don't have one for us, so I don't know where we sit.
The hardware's
that.
starting
The
to
wall
stack
of
up.
fame.
Next meeting, I'll bring it. Maybe we take a picture with it.
That'd be fun. All right, and then I think we have to
Oh, thank you.
go ahead and
And
do that.
I don't know how much y'all have been in the buildings, but we've gotten these beautiful
Yeah.
photographs in the hallway. They're at both campuses and they are just incredible. Like,
Did someone?
it's
Should we stop it
perfect.
or keep going?
No, I think
I
we
think we
adjourned the
adjourned,
meeting,
yeah.
so it'd be appropriate to.
I would like to know more about these pictures because